is the fact that the great taking has been going on for over 500 years. Look what's happening in Gaza right now. They are targeting people with AI by looking at their Instagram and their WhatsApp. It's a machine that does it. What sites, what keywords. And it is not, and the middle class is up to here and there in innocent blood. Every one of your damn things that supports your middle class is killing, murdering millions of people all over the world. That's the machine that's the problem. And all this new technology, CRISPR doesn't work. This is a lot of fear porn crap. You know, you gotta look a little deeper. You gotta step back. I'm one of you. You know, I grew up middle class, but you've got to analyze what's below the surface there. It's a killing machine.
Absolutely.
And it's been exploiting the rest of the world forever, and right now they're standing up, and they're the ones that are going to save us. Listen to Ibrahim Tagore. You know, listen to the leaders of Africa and Afghanistan. I mean, South Asia. The world is standing up, and they're going to turn over the killing machine. And that's what we need to be ready for. And those are the people we need to make alliance with.
I told you to trigger a few. Anyway, yeah, no, you're right. They are killing people. They don't need, if you think of the Georgia Guidestones, that said maintain humanity below 500 million. Because they don't need 8 billion people on the planet. They only need 500 million to power this computing system. So yes, they are killing people. That is part and parcel of it. I didn't have to mention it because I thought it was pretty obvious, and I thought everyone in the room would at least know what's going on in Palestine and different wars around the world.
What's with the fear porn? Look at what you're putting out here. It's exactly wrong.
It's fear porn?
Yes, it is.
I'm sorry, but
we have power, and it's called spiritual power.
Yes.
Okay?
What do you think they're going to try and tap into?
And if you develop yourself, you will have all the tools you need.
And that's going to save the world? Really? Well, good luck with that.
Yeah.
I'll be standing behind you when things start flying in my direction then, if that's okay.
Well, that would be great.
Yes, Monia?
I have comments to support what you're saying. Anybody who's been putting out some things about Sabrina Wallace, and if you follow Sabrina Wallace, she has been looking at the IEEE and how they have been napping us since 1995. We've all been hooked up. We've had we didn't sign any agreement, any consensus to say, yeah, we want to be part of this big experiment. And so, yeah, they know. They don't even need, really, these towers. These towers are there. I was listening, I mean, I can give you tons of Sabrina that's well documented about the IEEE, the medical associations, how they're hooking us up. Anybody who's had some sort of, like, even had a heart attack and they put you on a monitor, you have a node. You are a node on their internet.
Yeah.
And so people have to understand that, yeah, this isn't fear porn. This is reality.
This is reality.
This is
Only if you rely on your phone. Why are you buying into it?
It's not about your
Why
phone.
are you
It's not about a phone.
No.
Please, listen. Yeah, have a little bit of respect. Have a little bit of respect for everyone else. And stop interrupting people.
Yeah.
I must appreciate that you do have a point of view. And I did say people would be triggered by what I said. And it's
I'm
quite...
not triggered at
No,
all.
I'm sorry, but you're the one standing up
I just think
shouting.
you're doing a terrible thing to all these people. Spreading fear, boogie, woogie, woogie.
Oh, well, you could just hide all the
There's
time.
worse stuff than
We
you
could
even
just
know
hide.
going on, and it's not powerful.
Do you understand the people that I talk to around the world?
May I say something?
Yes, you may.
Everyone around pretty much knows that I've been into heavy research for a long time.
Yeah.
And I can honestly say I agree with you 100%.
Thank you very much.
Everything that you have said.
And this is why I said, everyone,
I
don't believe
understand.
what I'm saying. Go away and research it. I'm not making this stuff up.
And
But
people
clearly...
here know that I've been pushing the self-organizing collective website to gather the information into various areas of exactly what you're saying. And some people are more financial and some are more spiritual.
Yeah.
But the whole thing is, it is a massive attack from every single vector. And I agree with you completely. And I think a lot of people here and a lot of people have come forward to add information to try to
That's
inform.
right.
So that's all I wanted to say.
I'm an investigator, I'm a researcher, I have the podcast.
I understand.
I couldn't be any more spiritual. My wife is a shamanic energy healer. She taps into the whole spiritual thing. I do plant medicine. I've done 12 ceremonies. The realization of everything has come through in very vivid form for me. But if I start telling people that this comes through and I download it, and a lot of the writing I put down, I have to read back myself because I don't know what it says until I've finished, people are going to think I've lost the plot.
Well, some people will, and others will understand you completely.
Yeah.
So I just wanted you to
Ross.
know that.
Wait, Ross, 1 second. Can we just take a deep breath just to dispel the energy for a minute? Nothing against Eleanor, nothing against you, Chris. Let's just get it back down to a level of, just take a deep breath for just a moment.
Yeah, no, it's a good idea.
Thank you.
Yeah. Because what we've just said isn't easily digested by people, and I understand that.
But it's just the disharmony. Is what
Yeah. Because
that's
even
not
before
what we're
even before I started, I did say this is going to trigger some people, and we were exactly right. Because what it does is it pushes the boundaries of people's belief systems. Because nobody wants to believe, firstly, that this could happen. Firstly, and secondly, that the technology is in place to do this. And thirdly, that we've been farmed for that very exact reason. Ross?
I've known since the age of 6 that this is a farm.
Yep.
We were planted here. They travel at speeds, which means in their world, and if you've seen Interstellar, you can understand this.
Yep.
In their world, it might be 100 years. They come back, it's been millions and millions of years here, and we've grown over 8 billion of their animals.
Yeah.
So when do they come and harvest?
As soon as they get everything in place for these computers that they're going to plug it into, it's going to look, and seriously, like they do mock things with cinema, which is why Hollywood is very controlled by these very elite corporations, and they mock us. And whether that's some kind of a karma thing where they can just turn around and say, well, we told you so, I don't know. But you look at something like The Matrix, where they have all these people plugged into the very system computer driving, where they can literally tap into this system of infinite computing, this very system of frequency and high frequency waves. That's exactly what they're putting together right now. And all the evidence and all the information of these universities and huge think tanks that are doing this is all available online for you to read, because they're boasting about it. They are so proud about the fact that they are now merging human brain cells with computer chips, because it has such a higher processing capacity than anything else. And the human brain, as I said, we use in our lifetime about 10% of our human brain. And if you go online and you Google how much is the human brain capable of holding, it will tell you it's capable of holding not an infinite amount, but it also mentions in that search that you'll find that it does have the capability of allowing the transmission and receiving. I've actually seen the transmission and receiving. I've seen it on plants, I've seen it on trees, I've seen it on humans. Anything that is living has this transmitter receiver back to source. People are going to call it God, I'll call it source, because source is where it comes from. This is what is the natural control mechanism that allows us to experience being human, where your soul is in your body. This is where the light that's within us, the fractal of God himself, allows that communication back and forth. This is what the dark entities want, because the moment they have us, they're ready to do it. And people will say, oh, why didn't he do it before? Because they have needed us to create the very weapon that's going to be used against us. We have created our own demise by creating this. And that's what's so scary, because we see all these very sick, twisted elites going to these parties, sacrificing people. We know they drink adrenochrome. We know they sacrifice to entities. We know they go to Bohemian Grove and create sacrificial worships in front of Moloch. And this is all to summon these demons. And how they rewarded? Well, they become politicians. They become presidents. They become chief heads of the central banking systems. They become everyone that probably goes to Davos and Bilderberg groups to meet up to discuss the next stages of what they're going to do to humanity. And this is what we're already aware of, all these stepping stones that are in place. We have a window of opportunity right now to stop this if enough people realise what's going on. Unfortunately, that lady, she's not going to make it. She's got far too much faith in herself, but she doesn't have the ability to unleash the full potential of her mind to be able to save herself. If we could unleash our power, we would be an angel, literally lighting up and showing our full power to everything, and nothing could attack us at that point. This gentleman here
Can you talk? Because she was held her hand up.
He had his hand raised.
Yeah, he's had his hand raised for about 3 minutes, Monia, so I'm not... You've already spoken, so I'm just gonna... I'll be with you in a minute.
Alrighty, derailed my train of thought. First of all, one thing I will say is, if you can see them, if they're a public figure, they're not in charge, they're just a minion, a high-level minion maybe at best,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
still a minion.
Anything in human form
Yeah,
is not in charge.
exactly. And so, and this is really, it's speaking for myself. I mean, I've been a techie for a good piece over 30 years. I've been deep into computers. I was early days. Okay? Even back then, we were talking about The Ghost in the Machine, which is, I'm sure,
Good song as well.
there is in electronics an element of unpredictability and almost, dare I say, sentience. I mean, it's like, but it's not the silicon, it's not the machine, it's something that's lurking in there.
Yeah.
And that's been clear for a long time, and it's really only been over the last few years that it has become clear to me that evil is not some abstract concept like we've all been taught. You know, oh, it's evil. No, evil is a tangible force, and demonic entities are very much real. Now, if I were to say this at a tech conference, that I don't know what, yeah.
Yeah.
But this is the inescapable conclusion that you have to reach if you've actually approached this with anything like an open, rational mind, thought about what's happening, and done even a modicum of research of what's going on. So there is not just a corporeal, temporal element to this. There is very much a spiritual war going on that's been going on. Yeah,
Because everything is frequency. We're frequency. When we get down to the levels of everything, that's hard because it vibrates faster than what anything that's hitting it is, so it can't pass through. I can pass through air, even though that exists. It's vibrational frequency. And when we get down to the levels of quantum mechanics and quantum science, we realize that everything is just atoms spinning around in a space, and a big space, albeit. Everything is created of atoms. You are, we are. And this is why the quantum computing is so powerful, because it's taken these vibrational frequencies of energy and connecting into the human consciousness. When 9/11 happened, there was a random number generator that is a computer that just completely puts out random numbers, zeros and ones, very similar to the Matrix, funnily enough. The numbers changed dramatically at the point of the Twin Towers going down, all the human life being lost, and the shock and the overwhelming fear that engulfed the world. And this proves how powerful the frequency is. This proves how the energies that we have, the power of our minds, can actually affect the computer, because we are more powerful than any computer that exists, which is why they now need us to take the next stages and create that soul trap. I want to go back to where I came from. I didn't particularly want to come back this time, but I had a purpose to come back. I want to go back again, take a long holiday in the love and light and just bathe in it and enjoy the fact that we've solved the problems here. But I can't leave this earth until we do solve the problems and we do have enough people. Because as history repeats itself, we're going to just go through another cycle again. And if you start wondering about where all these ancient civilizations just disappeared to, it was highly likely that they attained a higher vibrational frequency and they could no longer be seen in human form anymore. So that's where it's going. Monya?
So I want first Dee Dee and then I want to speak.
Well, I think everybody here agrees on this.
Louder.
Louder, please.
I think everybody agrees with what you're saying. You know, we all know this, and you brought out a very good point about the evil that maybe people haven't really realized. But my question is, so what, do you have any solutions?
Yeah.
Okay.
People need to wake up. Because
I know,
because
we are awake.
because
We
very
know
now,
it.
because
Now
right now,
what do we do?
right now, the only thing that is facilitating this is other human beings on the planet who have put themselves into positions of power and control. If we can see what's going on and we understand what's going on, and that's why I said the window of opportunity now, we have to find our voices. We have to speak. We have to tell people. You could be out and about, but don't be afraid. Because being afraid of what people think of you for posting on the internet, being afraid of what people think of you for talking to them in the streets, they might think you're absolutely crazy. But next week something will happen that will trigger them to think, hang on a sec. I have people contacting me that I spoke to probably 10, 15 years ago. And certain subjects may have been about banking, politics, whatever it was at that time. And it's taken them 5 years to realise at this point, he wasn't as crazy as he sounded back then. And they'll contact me and say, hey, I've seen this. This has happened in my life. And the last 4 years has been a big wake-up call. But unfortunately, everybody that woke up over the whole 4 year of COVID and lockdowns and suppression of freedoms are now stuck in the very trap of continuing to do that. They're pointing things out in the sky. We're being poisoned with this. People are dropping dead. We need to move on because that alone is a huge distraction. We've got a far bigger picture now to focus upon and a far bigger thing to do. And we need to open our mouths, we need to open our hearts, and we need to get this message out to as many people as possible. Because the more people that start talking about this, we reach that critical mass moment, and that tipping point in humanity means there's no going back. Because once enough people know, let's say there's 8 billion people on the planet. If we can get 1 billion people talking about it, and they're on social media, and they're talking in the streets, and they're talking to the friends, and they're talking to the families, and explaining what's coming if we carry on down this path, that's enough to trigger 2 billion more to be awake. And once we hit 3 billion, that's enough to trigger the rest of everyone to want to stop the exact assault of this dystopian nightmare that's coming down the pipeline. We've got our minds. We're more powerful than we think. People need to stop being the victims and poor little me, because we do have the power to do this. The only thing that stops us is the worry about what people will think about us, the fear that's inside us. If I speak out about this, I'm going to be labelled a lunatic. Don't worry about that. Because if we don't speak out, it's going to be too late. And as much as the lady thinks it's fear porn, if this is what it's going to take for people to wake up, that's what we need to do.
So can I give some suggestions of how to help ourselves?
Well, you've already put your hand up 3 times and spoke, so it's a good start.
Raise your
First
voice.
off, like when you spoke about, the rate taking, you were here and you talked to us about the rate taking.
That's right. Well,
So if you read the book, the chap, Webb, he was very clear on how to put a spoke in their wheels in regards to that. And even though we see the banks here, and especially
Yep.
in Mexico, you're getting a high interest rate, he said you've got to start taking your money out, because they're going to take it. So you have to take it out, and you have to put it into things that hopefully they can't take, okay? It might be growing the food, or possibly live in a house, we're not too sure about
Yeah.
land rights here, but just put it into things that become your property.
yeah.
Secondly, so he spoke about a solution, you know what I mean? especially getting out of the stock market.
Yeah.
Okay, I know it's still doing very well.
But the great taking itself
That's right.
is one small thing.
Yeah.
It's small. It might be a big thing once people read it or look at the documentary and they'll be in shock, taken back by exactly what's happening. It's such a small piece of the jigsaw, but it's a tool.
That's right, it's one of the tools.
It's a stepping stone.
But somebody actually gave us
Yeah.
a solution of
Yeah.
how to manage that.
That's right.
Secondly, the fact is that knowing that we are nodes, knowing that they have, without our consent, hooked us up to this iCloud, the way to get around it, and there's people like Tony, Eric, people that I follow that have these solutions. And basically for myself, I need people who have some chemistry background, who have some physics background, who can look at the material, because there's people in Lapland, there's people all over the world taking samples of their blood, people's blood, and looking at these crystals, which are part of the circuitry
Yeah.
required to look
Yeah,
at
we know that. Dr. Ross will tell you that.
but they're actually working at dissolving and taking it out, like i.e. the triangle,
Yeah.
i.e. other solutions, okay? It's not a solution that will encompass everybody, like some people do very well with the triangle, some with this way, some with other things. Even regenerating your teeth. I mean, there's a solution I found that people are regenerating their teeth without having to go to the dentist, okay? And it's finding, so I found some of these solutions. But the sad thing is, it's I'm willing to be a guinea pig because, hey, I'm 72, and if this shit is coming down, I don't know if I'm going to survive it, but guess what? I'm going to give it the best kick I can, and that's, the research that myself and Kay do. We're willing to share this out, but it's like, if we don't share it with you guys, we can share it with the Mexicans,
Yeah.
is the thing. Like your maids, your gardeners, and having these chats with them about what's coming, or what
Yeah.
they can anticipate.
The one thing that we've got to worry about, and yet we do have solutions, and that solution is one tiny little solution.
Yeah.
It's one solution, but it's one tiny little solution. What we can't do is allow ourselves to live in fear and keep focusing just on these small things. There is a far bigger picture now, which I've just explained today. And the one key thing that we have the power to change is by using our brains, by using our voices, because we can't, the amount of people in this room can't change the situation. But if everyone in this room spoke to 100 people, then we have a lot more people that are going to tell 100 people, that are going to tell 100 people, and so on. And once we gain this mass wave of information that can get out there, then people can start making an impact on the very problem that we have. And yet, these small things of what they're doing and it's a very pinnacle of these groups of humans. The politicians, the ones who control the military, everything that goes on in the world. We need to pull them into check first. We need to make sure that we don't have corporate leadership in governments, and we should make sure that we take responsibility for who we have in power as an employee if we want the country managing. Everything still needs to be managed around us, but unfortunately they are, as I say, they're going to collapse this financial system and get everyone onto a digital currency. At that point, everything else doesn't matter.
Right.
It doesn't matter anymore because people are then going to be in the ultimate fear. So if I was going to take something and focus on the one thing, it's make yourself secure. Silver, food, house, land, protection. Make yourself secure. We can sweat the other things later on. Because right now, we have to take down that very establishment that wants to take what I can buy food for here and digitalise it, because then they've got me on the leash even more so. And we have to take it in big steps to remove these things. And if we don't, we're in big trouble. That lady there, sorry.
Oh, sorry, go on.
Oh, okay. I think the number one thing we have to work on first is,
Now then.
Okay.
Sorry.
is fear. Fear
Yes.
is the great perpetrator of evil.
Yeah.
It's the number one thing. All of this survival stuff is good,
Yeah.
and it's just natural. I lived in Alaska. We all did that all the time
Yeah.
because you never know. So that's awesome, and it's gonna be chaotic for a while.
Yeah.
But if you can dispel fear
Yeah.
and create a paradigm shift into love by raising your energy, as you well know,
Yes.
then everything will shift automatically. It's raising, and one person tells one person, tells one person, and the shift happens to compassion and love and energy.
Yep.
And everything you said is true. Everything Monia said is true.
Yep.
But the way to really come back is to create this energy shift.
Yeah.
And that's what we need to work.
That's
That's
it.
where we can start right
The power
now.
of
We can
this.
breathe, as Lauren
Yeah.
said.
The power of what's inside us is ultimately powerful, which is why they want it. But I can't go out into the street here and tell people, hey, you need to increase your spirituality, because once you do, you're untouchable and you're not going to live in fear anymore. But what I can do is go out to people in the street and say, hey, next month you're not going to be able to shop here because there won't be any food in there. And not only that, you won't have the money in your pocket because the Bail-in Act is going to steal all your cash out the bank, and you're going to be left out on the streets with everything gone. That gets their attention. Well, what can I do about it? Well, what you can do, you can get yourself protected, make sure you've got food, make sure that your money isn't in the bank so they can't take it, turn it into tradable assets so you can trade amongst people. If I turn up and this lady here's got a nice leg of land and thanks very much, I need to feed my family, she'll take that because she knows she can trade it with somebody else. Once we are secure and untouchable with that financial weapon that's in place, we don't live in fear. Then we can work on the spirituality side, and the people that have the ability to teach people, bring people up to the next level, that's when they step forward. Because we have the numbers then, and increasing the spirituality of everyone en masse is a massive tool against this establishment. Because this whole establishment is run on dark, demonic, satanic energy, and it doesn't like what we have within us, because if we can turn it on them at that point, it's game over. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, sir.
Right. As you said, as far as it goes, this is going to take everybody working together.
Yeah.
And the more we can raise awareness. And the one thing Kay, my wife, identified like a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, was that most of the information that's out there is actually fragmented. I've got a bunch of pieces, she's got a bunch of pieces, you've got a bunch of pieces, Monia's got a bunch of pieces, but all of us individually, it's only tiny pieces.
Yeah.
If we bring it together, at that point in time, we can actually create a resource. So you don't have the time to spend 3 hours a day running around 6 websites if you're a normal human being. You know, but if there's one resource where you can go, it's like, what's happening here? What's happening technologically? What's happening medically? What's happening, then you actually pack everything into a place that people can use, people can refer other people to, no matter what the concerns are, whether they're financial, technological, whatever.
Yeah.
And that's basically what this whole self-organizing collective.com thing has been all about since the beginning, I've had things thrown at me, oh, it's a moneymaker, it's this, it's that, it's the other. It's none of these things, okay? This was physically called, it was called the self-organizing collective to actually give people the opportunity to contribute to the whole. And we've now, fortunately, let me just bring this up, we've raised enough funds to actually move the thing to Norway where it's going to be safer. So that's fantastic, and I'm going to make that move over the next week. But really, this is what it is. And if everybody pitches in and contributes information to this growing archive, and it's starting to get pretty good. And we have something there that can be used to fight this.
Yeah, absolutely. At the back? Yeah.
How many people have heard of Project Ruby?
Yeah.
Well, apparently, this coming Monday and Tuesday, we might have a taste of it.
Right. What are they projecting? Because I thought they were going to use it for the second coming of Christ.
You got it.
Okay.
It's some kind of related to this
Yeah.
thing,
Yeah.
And it, how many people know
Project Blue. Yeah.
Okay, so Phil High's got this posting out recently on that, and there's a few people that do remote viewing.
Yeah.
Dick Algar.
Yeah, Dick Algar.
They've done that, and it seems like there's a lot of correlation between a lot of other people, that Monday, Tuesday is going to be very fun.
Yeah.
And Cliff has an interview out on Shane Claude.
Yeah.
And it was posted yesterday, late in the afternoon. Anyways, and he's talking about how the Project Ruby is going to work through your nervous system.
Yeah.
So I'm going to post it
Perfect.
on a group
Yeah.
when I get home. So if you have a chance over the weekend, you might want to poke your nose into that.
Yeah.
Because if that does happen,
Yeah, it's funny
I
that
think
you...
that's going to be really interesting.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned Dick Al-Gaia, because this guy was ex-military remote viewing. He was remote viewing for the military, which is a huge complex and again another weapon against humanity. Think of the power that Dick Al-Gaia has to sit there and remote view something from his own mind and come back with the drawings and images that tells the people what's going on in another country or what's coming. That is the true potential of what we all have within us. They put fluoride in the water for so many years, and sadly it's calcified the pineal gland of many people out there. I made sure, since my children were young, that we got this out of our water system and we drank good water with no fluoride in it. For those who have a calcified pineal gland, it might be difficult for them to actually access and process this, and this has been a deliberate attack, again, by the very systems, by the lies that it protects your teeth and your dental things. That's not the case. The whole purpose is to dumb us down. And dumb down we have been, not only through fluoride, through stuff that's been in our food, chemicals, the pharmaceutical industry, education, and everything we've learned. So for us to break out of the mindset we've been in all our lives is very difficult, because we are a very repetitive creature that relies on this. This is an incredible computer, but it's a lousy master. This should be the master, that should be the servant. And once you allow this to control this, we've figured it out. And we're on our way to defeating it at this point. Yes, sir?
Yes, I'd just like to echo something that Sash talked about and Sarah Yu.
Yep.
Sash's engineering of the website has a spiritual component to it,
Yep.
which is a very important element. And Sarah Yu talked about raising consciousness. And I think that this is really a two-part exercise.
Yeah.
One is a physical part in terms of addressing and speaking from our heart to others about this, but the other part is our own consciousness. It's opening up our own heart, because I believe that this whole agenda from the 100,000 feet perspective is about waking people up.
It is.
It's waking up people to a higher consciousness of living.
Yeah.
And so, just to give a little plug to the Hue, it's a sacred sound. It can open up, expand one's awareness, open you up to divine love. There are many other sounds available, but this is a universal sound. So we can focus on our spirituality in our private lives, and we can come together in certain situations that I'm organizing as well. So I think it's a spiritual...
It is. And like I've been working on myself and spirituality now probably 12 years. At first, believe me, I thought it was just a load of hoo-ha and didn't believe it was. But the more we worked on it and the more we received the messages and the information that comes through, these have been passed around. This is Jill, this is actually my wife. She's a shamanic energy healer. She goes in, and probably one of the main causes of us not being able to activate everything that's within us is the trauma that we've gone through in our lives that blocks our energy systems. For me, I did a lot of work with plant medicine, and it was very deep and dark what came out, and I released that from my body, and I took a real deep dive and a look at myself. Because until we can face ourselves, we can't face what's out there on our own. And until we remove the blockages that sit in our body, there's no way we can continue. There's a lot of good people out there who are healers. There's a lot of good people out there that have great ideas on what to do. But they are very broken people themselves. They have never fixed themselves before trying to fix others. Jill worked on this for a long time, healing herself and fixing herself. And her abilities, psychic abilities, healing abilities, and to be able to deep dive in and come back with where you're having the blockages within your energy systems, she can really help. So if anyone wants to speak to her, I wasn't even going to mention it today, but I've seen the flyer going around. She's there again as another tool to get people right. She's fixing people and warning people. And together, you know, we had a spiritual medium called Dan King. Probably one of the first interviews I ever did about 4.5 years ago. This is a guy I bumped into just by chance. My wife wanted to go to one of these hoo-ha meetings with crystals and all this. And I'm like, oh, okay. Anyway, I went there, and there's a guy, and he sat there on his own. I'm like, what's this guy doing? And I went over. He's a spiritual medium. I thought, you know what? I'll give that a whirl. I wasn't not open to it because I'd spoken to them over the years when I was younger. He told us what exactly we were going to do. And when we interviewed him, he said, you and your wife have been together 18 times before. And every time you come back to this incarnation, you're back together as a team. One way or another, whether you're male, female, black, white, whatever. It doesn't matter. This is just a meat suit that we managed to use as a vehicle for our soul. I do believe we've all come back for a purpose. I do believe we're all here to do something. We've got to just make sure that the fear doesn't stop us doing that. And if we need to find the tools, the people, the tribes to do that, we need to do that now. Because that window of opportunity is there now for us to address the issues that are coming down the line. And if we don't address those issues, I'm not going back. And I'll never come back to do anything with my life partner, spirit partner, whatever we want to call it, again. And the thought of that horrifies me. Because if we've got it wrong so many times, time over and time in generations, shouldn't we be the generation now that changes this? There should be nothing stopping us. There should be nothing stopping us speaking out. And that's what we've got to do. We need to find our voices. Talk to people in the street. Let them think you're crazy. Because in 2 months' time, they won't. Especially if you're telling them that the financial system's going to collapse. I'm arguing, I shouldn't do it, but I do because I like to read people. But I end up arguing with people online, especially in groups locally here. I hate gringos and without agendas, which is quite hilarious because the group itself has lots of agendas and they seem to be very one-sided. But somebody posted up about how fantastic the stock market was. They're telling me how 4 years ago it was at 14,000, now it's 40,000, and that means that my pension and my stocks and me is all right. And I said, no, you're not all right. You don't understand it. Because this bubble from 2008 and the financial collapse was just a little test. It was a little bump in the road that destroyed people's lives and people's businesses, and still to this day we're trying to recover from it. But that bubble was patched up. They put a huge band-aid on it and went to town. And the debt bubble now is the elephant in the room. The debt bubble is the monster that's going to bring down the whole system. Go away and look at the debt clock. $47 trillion of debt is saddled onto the back of just the US taxpayers alone. It's unsustainable. It can never be paid back. So the only solution is to collapse that. Weaponize it, put people into poverty, eradicate the middle class, have them on the knees, begging for the solution. They'll create the problem. We create the reaction. They create the solution. It's a time and tried method of subjugating people to put them into a slave class. Because they need to get us into a slave class, or they haven't got their supercomputer to go against God. And as hard as that believes, and as I've said earlier, go out and research it. Once you dip your toe in that water, it's unbelievable. And I take this from lots of many sources that I talk to. I open my phone up every day, there's probably 50 messages from people all around the world. Very good people, people that own the Trends Journal, people that own Trader's Choice, people like Parallel Mike, who are, again, seeing the financial problems that I'm seeing. I'm speaking to people on the spiritual side of things. And once we bring all this together in one basket, that is the connection and the dots that we need to see. And this is where I'm at right now, and this is what I'm telling you. You don't have to believe me, but at least go away and do your due diligence. Research what I'm saying. I'm going to be putting the podcast out maybe tomorrow or Saturday. And it's going to encompass everything I've said today, word for word. I've got 121 images and shots of different things to prove exactly what I've said here today. Right from the financial collapse, right to the fact that they are now using human brain cells for the computer chips and the quantum computer for stealing Bitcoin. So, at the end of the day, I'll put out what I can. I'll put the information to back it up. But it's up to you now to educate yourselves, understand what's going on, and go out and educate others. Because until we do, we're not going to be able to do that. And this could even be you just going on your Facebook page, making a video at home, putting it on, and saying to people, what do you think? And allowing the conversation between you and them. Yeah, they might come back and say you're absolutely batshit crazy, but so what? You can't help those people because their rigid belief systems are so strong, they're never going to allow anything in that creates anything that breaks their illusion of life. And it is an illusion, unfortunately. And yes, sir?
That's just a last thing. Basically, once you've been on the research train for a while, the more you find out and the more you research, you have to actually realize the crazier you sound to the normie, okay? And that's something you have. The crazier you sound to a normie.
Yeah, and that's by design.
That is by have to own. That's something you have to own. You don't have to shy away from it. I'm learning that the hard way myself.
Yeah, and this is all by design. Your education, what they feed everyone through the TV, what they feed everything through social media, is purposeful by design. Because the moment you challenge that belief system, you're batshit crazy, you're also the enemy. So we've created, or they have helped create, through the power of us, our own prison. We need to get out of that prison right now. The opportunity to get out that prison presents itself at this very moment in time. And if we don't do anything to get out of this prison, the prison we're going to be in is a living hell on planet Earth for the rest of eternity. And that's all I've got to say. Thank you.